rolls on. The Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, we head to Pittsburgh later in the week for what is a huge early season matchup for Tennessee, a real litmus test to see how much this program has grown in the first 18 months Josh Heupel's been on the job.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that where the betting lines have moved to, putting Tennessee as a touchdown favorite, even though Pitt's ranked in the top 15. Rob, Tennessee's not ranked, but yet everybody's fallen in love with Tennessee early in this thing.
Vegas loves Tennessee, and you have to wonder how much of that is based on week one, where Pittsburgh really struggled with West Virginia. Didn't run the ball, got kind of fortunate with a pick six late in the game. And I don't think that we've learned a lot about Tennessee that we didn't already suspect after a 59-10 win over Ball State.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, yeah, and also, injuries throughout the week, got to pay attention to those on both sides. Vegas seems to always know something, but I am surprised that the line started at 4 up to 6.5. But I'm with you, Rob. You didn't learn a whole lot about Tennessee, but this week you will, no doubt.
I don't think you learned anything about Tennessee, did you?
Yeah, you learned that they knew they did what they were supposed to do.
Okay, you learned that they were mature enough to handle their business.
Yeah.
Fair point.
When they weren't a year ago, they struggled at times against that.
That's a good point.
Bowling Green in that opener. Tennessee is 24th in the AP poll, unranked in the coaches poll. We head into this one. This is a game where Hendon Hooker was thrust onto the scene when Joe Milton got injured a year ago. Hendon Hooker playing at an all-time level. I think they're going to try to use his feet when they can. He did that a week ago, had 2 touchdown runs, 2 touchdown throws.
Good reads.
But I think, Tennessee takes more deep shots in this game because I think Pittsburgh will defend them in a way that they're allowed to throw more deep balls.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way Pittsburgh's going to line up and drop 8 into coverage. That's just not who they are. I think they'll play press man as they did a year ago and see if Tennessee can make those plays. And this is a very different Tennessee team than a year ago. I know there's a lot of parts back on both sides for both teams, but Rob, you look at what Tennessee did not have a year ago in this game and where they are now with what they have. This is not close to being the same Tennessee team as a year ago.
No, way settled at quarterback, where last year they were way unsettled. I don't know that they're settled at wide receiver, but last year it was a hodgepodge. I don't think they knew what they had. And when you talk about press man, I really like Tennessee's personnel out there with Cedric Tillman, Brew McCoy. When you talk about big physical guys that you would think should be able to handle that. And Tillman proved he could handle it last year.
I was going to say, not only that, you have a go-to playmaker no matter what, Cedric Tillman. Brew McCoy, you like what you saw in him in week one. And you know what you have in the backfield. Do you have a lot in the backfield? No, you don't. But you know what you have in Jabari Small. You know what you have in Jalen Wright. And those two guys, along with those freshman backs, this week is going to be up for the challenge because they are going to dial it up. They're going to bring some pressure, and that should open up some holes there in the back end.
Yeah, their ability to pass protect, which is something we did not see at all a week ago, as Jabari Small pointed out when he met with the media earlier in the week. No pass protection sets for him at all last week. But they got to lean on 2, they got to lean on 20, and then maybe 24, and who knows who else. But Tennessee's got to run the ball effectively. If they can, much like West Virginia did a week ago when they averaged almost 6 yards a carry, then watch out, because if Tennessee can run up 5+ yards a carry, that means the passing game's really rolling.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day for Pittsburgh if Tennessee can find that kind of success running the football. To me, Eric, I think 2 unsung heroes that will factor into this game, maybe not in the passing game, but 2 guys Tennessee needs to play well and they need to keep on the field are those 2 tight ends, Jacob Warren and Princeton Fant. They may be asked to max protect, they may be asked to help the left tackle, and they may get involved in the passing game. They were a year ago against Pittsburgh with some things as well. I think that's 2 unknown guys or unsung heroes, or not very much talked about guys that are big for this matchup.
Yeah, they're so dynamic in what they can do in this offense, and Alex Goller spoke on that earlier this at the start of training camp. But whether they're split out wide, blocking on perimeter screens, whether they're in the line of scrimmage for a 6 or 7 man protection, whether they're in the backfield or at H-back, Princeton Fant, Jacob Warren, their ability to stay on the field and contribute, I couldn't agree more, is going to be huge for Tennessee, while you still try to figure out what you kind of have on the perimeter in terms of big play targets.
So Pat Narduzzi's defense against Josh Heupel's offense, they faced off with each other several times in recent years. I think 4 of the last 5 years. Tim Banks, he has much more of a broad look at things when you factor in, Pittsburgh changed their offensive coordinator, no Kenny Pickett, no Jordan Addison, a lot of change on the offensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh. So the defense going to have to be a little more reliant on what happened a week ago in that West Virginia game. And ultimately, I think it comes down to being able to get to the quarterback, something that part the way Ball State, prepared against Tennessee and played against Tennessee, part we just don't know if they're able to get home or not.
Well, that's been the whole talk, Rob, all summer long, is being able to rush the quarterback with your front 4 so you can be better on 3rd downs and all of those types of things. look, okay, Ball State threw it fast, got it out of their hands, but I didn't think Tennessee was dynamic on the edges coming off Thursday night. I don't know what you thought, but I think Byron Young's got to find a different gear this week against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm with you. I expected more. I mean, I'm willing to kind of give them a pass because clearly that was a priority for Ball State. Get it out quick. But even with that, I think Tennessee was credited with just one quarterback hurry on the night. No sacks, which we've obviously talked about a great deal this week. But Tim Banks on Tuesday, whether he was just taking up for his guys or whether film study really showed it, he didn't have any problem with it and stressed again that, Tennessee was hamstrung by how quick Ball State wanted to get it out. But we will see this week because you saw against Pittsburgh, or against West Virginia, Caleb Slovis pushed the ball down the field, only had 16 completions, but threw for over 300 yards.
I'll say this, too. The play-action pass, Tennessee's got to be on the lookout for that this week because they're going to run the football so much. Something Tim Banks mentioned, something Tyler Barron mentioned, and even Jalen McCullough earlier this week. They got to stay at home. Of course, you've got to, if you're a DB, you're reading pass first. You're a front seven guy, you're reading run first. But you got to get back in your pass sets because if you run so much, 38 attempts the other night, Rob, you're allowing the defense to become vulnerable to the run, and you can throw it over the top. So the play-action pass for Pittsburgh, they're going to look to hit that deep shot. Tennessee's got to be ready for it.
Well, and we know they're going to try to pick on Warren Burrell. Everybody's talked about that ad nauseum this week just because of the way the last year ended and the way he got more targets than anybody last week in that Ball State opener. Don't you think Kamal Haddon just gets more and more reps this week? I'm not saying he leads the team in reps from the defensive back position, but he played, 18 a week ago, Hubs. I think he probably plays not quite double that, at least to 30 this coming week.
Yeah, I mean, I think, particularly the way he's playing. I mean, the interception there, he played that perfectly. His celebration was a little much. We got to get that taken care of. I don't think that's allowed. But, I thought he played fast. And he's a guy that everybody had penciled in as a starter had he not been hurt throughout fall camp. Had he been on the practice field every day
likes
fall
physicality.
Camp, I think he would have started over Christian Charles. So I think he's in that rotation at the corners. They're going to get tested some out there. The other place that's going to get tested, as Eric mentioned with the play-action passing game, is the middle of the field. Pitt was 10 of 13 in the middle of the field against West Virginia. A year ago, Pitt really tore Tennessee up with Kenny Pickett in the middle of the field, 2 touchdown passes, 181 yards. Tennessee's going to have to be good between the hash marks and pass coverage because that's what Pittsburgh wants to do, is they want to hit you across the middle of the field.
And where do you feel like Tennessee's at, both at safety and in the middle of the field at linebacker, Rob, with Jeremy Banks and Aaron Beasley?
I mean, I think the jury is definitely still out. I don't think we learned anything very much last week. You've got, when you're talking about the middle of the field, the safeties and the linebackers, what Tennessee started against Ball State was basically the same 4 guys that were responsible for that last year, minus Theo Jackson at nickel, if you consider him middle of the field. And they just weren't good. I mean, that was a big reason Tennessee gave up more passing yardage than anybody else in the SEC, and they're going to be under the gun this week.
Lastly, before we get out the door, not a guy not named Hendon Hooker that will be the reason Tennessee moves to 2-0.
For me, it's Brew McCoy. I'm going to take Brew McCoy on offense. If you're talking about an offensive guy, and
I'm in both on either
both
one.
sides. Well, Byron Young, but I'm going to say Brew McCoy
Okay.
because I think one-on-one matchups with Brew McCoy, if he gets some one-on-one looks, I like his ability to win press coverage. I'm
going to take Byron Young. I mean, Hubbard kind of stole my thunder there, but if Tennessee exits this game with 0 quarterback sacks, I don't know. I don't think that's going to bode well for them.
Got to get after the passer, but this is a Jeremy Banks football game in the middle of the field. They're going to run the football. I expect Jeremy Banks to play big. If he does, then I think Tennessee's defense plays big, and Tennessee can maybe get a win.
And I'll go with Jabari Small, just because everybody knows Tennessee's going to try to throw it, but I think Tennessee's going to try to run the ball as well and do so very effectively. And I think Jabari Small's sneaky good, and I think that this is a game where he goes over 100 yards. We'll have complete coverage throughout the week at Volquest.com. He's Eric Kane, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs. I'm Austin Price.